So I'm going to start this off. I want to show you before we get into ChatGPT and Claude directly, because they make it really easy to set up connectors. They have growing lists of connectors that you can set up with just the push of a button, but you can also set up your own custom connector. Um, but in the event that you use Claude Code, if you use Claude Code, you probably already know this, but it's really easy to set up an MCP in Claude Code too. I'm looking at the docs page for AWeber's MCP, which you can just Google, or I'll drop it into the chat. Bang. There, you would just paste that into your terminal, hit enter, and then the MCP is added. It'll ask you to authenticate, where you'll log into your account, in this case, your AWeber account, to give it the permissions that it needs, and then it can just interact with your account. And basically any MCP that that is out there probably has a docs page with instructions like this. But if it were me and I wanted to add an MCP, I would just open a Claude session
Yeah.
to Claude Code and say, "Hey, could you add the AWeber MCP for me?" And if you try that right now, you'll see that it does an exceptional job at that.
I swear it's got to become like our tagline or something. Like, if you're not sure if or how to do something, just ask it.
Yeah, yeah. But let's get through the setup pretty quick because I want to show you the actual
Yeah.
demo. I'm in Claude Web right now, and if you want to set up a custom MCP, so if I go back here, well, actually, I'll show you this process first. You go to your little customized toolbox. They're
Mhm.
making this setup really easy, and let's say I want to set up connectors. I have connectors selected. Connectors is what both ChatGPT and Claude are calling what were previously called MCPs in the tools.
Mhm.
But I'll hit this plus button, and I can either browse for connectors and look through the library of tools, or I can add a custom connector. And setting this up is super easy. I would just name it, call it AWeber, and then go get this URL from the page here,
Mhm.
https, mcp.aweber.com/mcp. I'm going to copy that into the remote MCP server URL. And I don't have to worry about this because it's going to have me authenticate. I'll add that. And now all of the connection settings are here. I just have to hit connect, and it'll have me log into my AWeber account. Once I do that, the connector is set up in
Mhm.
Claude, and I can use it. It's
Yeah,
really
and just to reiterate, this is just how to connect AWeber's MCP in Claude. Um, we are
were
gonna,
folks asking about
yeah, to
ChatGPT?
Root's question, we are gonna show how to connect it in ChatGPT in a moment as well.
Yeah, it is as clear and simple, but let me show you. So let me switch over to ChatGPT. So I'm in ChatGPT. And here, actually, it is a little bit more annoying here, but I'm going to go into my settings, and then in my apps, I'm going to turn on developer mode because I need developer mode to use this custom MCP. And now I'm going to go create app. So now all I have to do is fill in those same settings that I did in Claude. So I'll call this AWeber. I can add a description if I want. I don't need to. Paste in that same URL. Note that, yes, this is something I want to do, and then hit create. And then you have access to use this MCP. So,
Mm.
but I will say, don't do this for AWeber because you don't need to. This is the way that you set up custom MCPs, custom connectors. But what I would really urge you to do is both in Claude and in ChatGPT, instead, just look at their connector marketplaces. So if I
Mhm.
go into settings, I'm going to go back to apps in Claude. I'm actually going to turn off developer mode because I don't want that on right now. And I'm going to click on add more. That takes me to the library of approved connectors in ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
this is by far the easier way to do this. So if I want to add AWeber, I can just search for it. You see, we have one, which is awesome. We're really proud of it. And then when it comes to connecting this, I already have it connected, so it gives me a start chat button. But if I wasn't connected, all I would have to do is click the connect button. It would have me authenticate it, and then it's done. It's there.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
by
have to be in
authenticate, you
developer mode.
literally just mean log into your AWeber and say, yes, I give permission. It's like, it's simple.
Yes.
Nothing
Yeah.
technical about it in ChatGPT, thanks to the marketplace.
Yeah. It's this simple for other apps too. Like
Mm-hmm.
what do I have? I have Notion connected, so
Yep.
you can see my Notion is in here.
You can connect Photoshop and do image editing
Oh yeah,
through
it's rad.
ChatGPT. I mean, it's it's worth just exploring and going, oh my goodness, there's so many of the tools that I'm already actively using available right here,
Yeah.
and just kind of finding new efficiencies for yourself.
Yes, for sure. And so like that's the setup process. Hopefully it's clear and easy. And if not, please ask questions because we want to answer them. But what do you do with it is kind of the big question around all of this. Cause sure, let's say I connected all of these apps, All Trails and booking.com and Lovable and Apple Music. What do I do? um, the things that I try to think about when I'm thinking about automating a process with AI is what are the tedious things that I have to do? And a lot
Mhm.
of that is copying and pasting, like moving things from one place to another or putting something from my brain into one of my tools. So, how can I automate the processes where I have to do that a lot? One of those that comes to mind for me that many of you probably have a similar process is I have a content calendar in one place where I have information that I'm going to share in my newsletter that I keep up to date and I add new ideas to, and it uses a standard format and everything. And when it comes time for me to create things from it, newsletters in this case, I have to take that stuff from the content calendar place, turn it into written content, and then put it in my email marketing platform and send it or
Mhm.
into my however I send email and send it. And there's just a lot of tedium there when the only thing that needs to come from me is like the creativity of the project in general and my viewpoint.
Mhm.
So I'm going to show you an example of how we can automate that. This is a little newsletter. Actually, it was an automated email experiment that I ran that I really loved. It was fun. I'm going to restart it after this. It's called Nice Words. And all it was is you'd sign up for it. And over the next 30 days, you would have a compliment delivered to you every day. But the catch was, it wasn't for you. You were supposed to find somebody who deserved that compliment. It was an encouragement to be social and to be kind and the type of person that I think the world would be better if there were more of them. You had to find somebody you could give the compliment to and give it to them, and then click a link to say, "Hey, I did it." People really loved it. It was fun, but we're going to use this as the example today. Let's say I want to send a weekly compliment to the audience, and and we'll go from there. So I'm going to go into ChatGPT and the first thing that I'm going to do is in my chat, I have Notion connected. A really cool thing about this is you can go to the plus button and from your more, you can select one of your connected application. Oh, I'm not showing anything. So I'm
That's
in
my
ChatGPT. You can hit plus, go into more, and you can select one of the connected apps, which is cool. But that's too slow for me. If you just hit slash in the chat and then start typing, it'll show you connected applications that match that. So what I did is I added Notion to the chat and then I asked this. I asked it to do something for me. I said, I need you to come up with 4 newsletter ideas for my nice words newsletter. So I'm giving it some context. They should be simple compliments people can share with a friend or colleague. Each should also include a corresponding inspirational quote for the reader themselves that has nothing to do with the quote. So there's a benefit to the reader, you get this inspiration, and you have this compliment you're supposed to share. Now, here's the direction where I tell it what actually to do. Add them to my Nice Words content calendar over the next 4 Wednesdays. Set a title, description, and labels appropriately.
And
And
because you've
because
added Notion to the chat, it knows exactly where you want those added, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the chats are smart enough that if I had said, without adding Notion to the chat, if I had said, add them to my Nice Words content calendar in Notion, it
Sure.
probably would have been smart enough to pick up on it. But in my experience, it misses it as often as it
Yeah.
actually gets it. So I always like to add it to the chat.
Yeah.
And then you can see it does a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. So it went and it looked for the page. Um, no, this was it creating the actual pages. and it updates. Excuse me. This actually was a really neat thing. So here it was trying to create these pages. I'm sorry, I was going a little out of order because pages are the content calendar entries. But what it noticed was that tags had no information in it. And it was trying to add helpful categorization to it. So what it did is it updated tags in that custom content calendar database. So I have these tags, and then it set them for the pages.
Well, and look
Not
at that too, not to get, like, caught in the weeds, but it's like it's literally setting, like, these great, like, color-coded topics, like purple teamwork, red kindness, pink belonging. That's
Yeah,
great.
which is awesome for me, you know? It's
Yeah.
doing things in the background administratively, the
Yeah.
tedious stuff that
It's
I
that
don't wanna have to
assistant
do.
that you're like, you ask them to do a task and they see an opportunity and they're like, "I actually went ahead and reorganized this and made it better." And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, where
Yeah, it's
were
awesome,
you?"
and I did have to approve each of those, so it wasn't gonna
Yeah.
do it without my knowledge.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just letting me know. So
Yeah.
then it says it created these things, but let's jump into Notion and see whether or not it did. So this is my page in Notion for nice words. It has just an overview, a content calendar, and then some supporting information. This is what the emails look like. This is a resource, and it did create uh, 4 items every Wednesday for the next 4 weeks. When I click into them, yeah, here are those tags color coded like it said. And here is the compliment and inspirational quote for the message. That's
Mhm.
pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
it's incredible.
so, what to do with that, though? The next step of this is turning
Yeah.
this
Nice.
into,
Now you now have a robust, organized content calendar, but now what?
yeah.
Right?
So it's super easy as well. This you don't have to do anything other than keep chatting with ChatGPT or Claude wherever you're doing this. So you can see here, I have 2 apps added to this conversation, both AWeber and Notion. And the prompt I said is, look at the nice words email I'm planning on sending tomorrow in Notion. So I said, like, this is where I want you to look for it. But I didn't say anything about the subject line or anything like that. I was just look for the one tomorrow in Notion, then create a newsletter in
Mhm.
AWeber, connecting those dots using the example email image from the Notion page. Okay. So when it looked at my AWeber account, found the right list, and then it tells me that it bumped into an error here where it couldn't get the information from Notion directly. So this is an issue on the Notion connector side of things. And this could be the place where I was like, I give up. I'll do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll write the email myself. But
Yeah.
like we say every single week, that is the wrong way to approach issues with AI conversations. So it just tells me a couple things that I could do. What I ended up doing is I just pasted in a link to the specific um, email that was in my content calendar. That was it. And I asked it to create the message. And it did. It says it put it on my nice words list. And it gave me a link to just open the draft right in AWeber, which is kind of awesome when you think about it. And here it is. Like, that's like, there maybe are some things that I would tweak, but honestly, why would I even bother? This did what I wanted it to do, and it looks like a nice words email.
I mean,
Here's this.
that's ready to send in my view. That like
Yeah,
the design, the content, it's so on point.
I feel the same way. And now, like, every week, I can just do this, or honestly, I could go back into Claude. I'm gonna try something. Let's do this. Let's do this live. So I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna grab the links to each of these um, other posts. So that's the 10th. This one's the 17th. Sorry, I'm just pasting it into the other window. I'll go back to it in just a sec. And then that one. Okay. And now back in this is the same conversation where it created the first email for me.
Mhm.
I'm going to say, and I'm going to do something kind of off the wall. We'll see if this works. Let's say, create draft emails for each of these content calendar items as well, using the same template used for the message you created. So I've got 3 in here. I wanted to create all those 3 using the same template. That's all there is to it. We'll see what happens.
I love it. While that's running, we had a question from Plant Sonics. I use both. I'm inferring Claude and ChatGPT from this for general and advert deployment. Have you found that one works better than the other in your experience with AWeber and ad development? I have some thoughts on that. I don't know if you do.
I would say go for it.
Yeah, I mean, in my personal experience, and we utilize both in our own ad development on the AWeber side. I find that in terms of creative asset creation, like image development or design, ChatGPT with Images 2.0 is dramatically superior to any kind of visual that Claude's going to give you. But I really like Claude's copywriting better. So, so the answer is like we tend to kind of divide and conquer based on what piece of ad creation we're talking about.
Yeah, I would agree, because with visual ads, Claude can't create images. It can create SVG images where it's drawing shapes and oh shoot, what did I just do there? Oh, it's just creating. Phew. I thought I had sent a broadcast. Yeah, so it's like okay, I just need to pay attention to what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
Claude uses like it can do SVG, or it uses like CSS and HTML to try to create like representative images, but it's not solid design. Whereas ChatGPT Images 2.0 can actually create pretty much anything you want it to.
Yeah.
We've done that in past episodes before. But I genuinely like Claude's writing better, copywriting skill better. So yeah, I think that answers it, I hope.
Yeah, awesome. So this did go and it created these 4. Sorry, I panicked for a sec because I thought I had sent a broadcast. So this
that's a good opportunity for an apology email, right?
This is the first one. Okay, well,
all right.
Structurally it looks good. It for some reason the logo broke.
Yeah.
That logo is also broken, but the structure looks good and it's including the content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonder
So
why
a fix to the logo, but you know.
Yeah, but not bad at all.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go back in here and say the logo is broken in those 3 emails. Fix it to use the logo from this one. Let's see if that works. But I'm just going to leave that to do its thing. And I want to go through another thing that I tried to do. So in this case, I have 2 apps connected. Again, I have Notion, which is my like brain. It's my source of truth for nice words. And I have Canva because I want to try and create some images for promoting nice words to use on social media. So I said here, look at the example image for my nice words email in Notion, and then use Canva to create a social media image for me to promote the newsletter in my Instagram story. And it went through and it created a bunch of different variations. They're kind of cool, but it clearly did not look at or use the actual image for nice words. It just looked at the written content and it created some cool stuff. Like it looks great, but not what I was expecting. So I gave it the logo and I was like, just use this logo. And it couldn't figure out how to do it. I went back and forth with it a bunch of times. I asked it to make the stories look more like the example email, and it just kept getting stuck. Eventually, it ended up creating another round where it still didn't use the logo, and the image style still doesn't match the style.
And it's like reimagining the logo in each of these iterations too.
So then I was like, come on, just use my logo. Here's a link to the logo online if you need it. And then it finally did start using the logo, but
sort of
not in the way I intended. Yeah.
Kind of.
So this is the logo image, but no, I don't think any of these, it just kept putting it in these contained boxes where it was cutting off the edges. Okay.
So I think that's that's like a important point. Like Canva's MCP here is limited by certain constraints of like the types of designs or templates that it tries to fill out for you. Like it's not at least Canva 1.0 that it's utilizing here, it's not like kind of like, what is it, like, open sky or whatever, where it's like it's creating anything under the universe. It's trying to like fit like your request into exist like known templates or known designs, and I think it's struggling with that.
Yes.
Now I will say, as bad as this result is, it's a testament to like always staying close to this stuff and trying it again every few months, because Canva AI 2.0, which is rumored to be insanely powerful, is in research right now. So that'll be rolling out eventually. I don't know exactly when. I've heard June, and it's now June 2nd, so I'm hoping that's true, because I'm excited to play with it. But it may produce a much better result if you try this again once that's out. So who knows? But always worth, these things move so fast, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna be skeptical. Having used this, I'm gonna be skeptical of Canva's implementation for this type of thing where you're asking
Mhm.
it to take information from one place and create imagery in another place until I see it.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
What I'd love to do actually is ask, and maybe I'll do this now. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT itself to use images to do this same
Mhm.
thing. Actually, you know
Mhm.
what? Let's start a chat with that in the background so we can say, um, so we can see what happens. So I'm going to say over here, look at my example image for my nice words email. So I'm just going to give it Notion in
Mhm.
Notion and just say create a social media image uh,
I wouldn't even provide it your logo.
for
I want to see if it's
Instagram.
able to do it.
I think it's going to have a hard time, but let's see. I'll also give it my website. How about that? For
Fair.
Instagram stories to promote my newsletter. Oh shoot, I already had it in my Instagram story. So then I'll just give it my website again. Here's my website. Okay, and then I'll kick that off. And but then I want to show you one more thing, because like we I already said it on this call too. Like when things go wrong, don't just give up. Use it
Mhm.
as an opportunity to give more context. I went back and forth with ChatGPT a number of times trying to give it more and more detail, and it could not get this right. So
Mhm.
here is kind of a slimmer, but still more detailed prompt. And then I went as far as putting in a very detailed prompt on what all the iterations should look like, that it should leave space around the logo, etc. And it just could not figure it out. I ended up in this spot where, like, this part of the trying to connect things together in my mind was a failure. And it led to something really important. Like, the thing that worked really well here is ChatGPT was able to connect my knowledge base in Notion
Mhm.
to writing content and putting that in AWeber in a way
Mhm.
that looks really good. That's really cool and just looks neat. And it automated the tedium,
Mhm.
and that was great. I had a little back and forth, but it worked great. With Canva, this was a waste of my time. I didn't end up with something useful, and honestly, I could have done it way faster if I had just gone into Canva, picked one of their Instagram story templates, and just dropped these things into it, or
Yeah.
maybe used Canva AI inside of Canva. And the
Right.
point there is not everything is automatable yet. Many things, in my opinion, will never be automatable in a way that actually speaks to real humans. So when you're doing this, find the things that you can automate, focus on doing that to save time and annoyance. Like, the thing that did automate here was really helpful. And then I can spend my time and creativity on the stuff that maybe I should be doing more of because I can make it look or feel or work better.
But I would say, like, yes, do that. And then a few months, this stuff is changing and improving so fast. Like I personally have gotten stuck where I will put together a workflow, and there's manual pieces of it that don't, I don't want to be manual. It's not like where I bring value, but there's manual tasks that need to be done because of where the technology is. And I get caught in this rut where I will just continue that process for 6 months. And meanwhile, maybe 3 months ago, something got better to the point where I could be automating more of it. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily going to be the Canva piece. I don't know. but like constantly like be open to reevaluation because this stuff is not static, you know?
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Okay, so I had to bump ChatGPT on this because it gave me a bunch of suggestions, which is fine, but like for the purpose of this demo, I don't care. So I was like, just
Yeah.
show me the
Make the
image.
images.
Oh well, it did a bad job too. So womp womp.
I mean, it's still more on brand and closer than what you were getting
I don't
before.
know, man. That stinks. I wouldn't use
It's
that.
I'm not saying it's
That's
not
terrible.
boring. I'm not saying it's not boring. It doesn't pass the boring test, but
Yeah.
it's technically more in line with the look.
I
Man, it's
don't
a
know if it
lot of
used
text for an Instagram asset, right?
it also it didn't use images 2.0 to create that.
So
Uh,
and this is like a real-time thing. I gotta be honest with you. I was doing some image manipulation in images 2.0 this morning, and it could not follow what I was asking. No matter how explicit I was, I could give it an image and just say, leave everything alone, but swap this one thing with the attached image. And it would come back with something completely like out of context of the conversation. Like,
hmm.
so I don't know if there's something going on there right now where maybe there's, partial outage or something's not working the way it's supposed to, but I was having like crazy trouble with it this morning.
I'm really curious if having Notion in the chat caused an issue with it
Maybe
as well. That could be for my specific
for
case. But
yours. Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
now it is creating this. While we're waiting for this, we have some great questions today.
Yeah.
You want to go
So
through them?
yeah, quick one that I think we can answer because two of the other ones I think kind of pair together a little bit. But Scott asked any thoughts on Grok or Gemini. Like I'll let you field that.
I so I am a Grok hater because I feel like it is uh it just is it's not at the same level as Anthropic's models or OpenAI's models. So it was like Claude or ChatGPT and the models that they use, and not even at like Gemini's level in terms of how it can assist in things like coding and reasoning. It's kind of cool actually on Twitter or X itself in its ability to interact with like the real time because it has all that real time conversational context to understand what is going on, what people are talking about, that sort of thing. That there, it's really cool. I just would not use it for a task like coding or automating a content creation workflow because the content in all of the experimentation and benchmarking that I've done just is not at the same level
Yeah,
as like the Anthropic and OpenAI models.
I was gonna say with Grok, I find little to no use in it whatsoever, except what you said. And the point is, like on X, Twitter, whatever, they're actually blocking a lot of other LLMs from having access to what's happening on that platform. So Grok within that platform has kind of a unique and proprietary ability to research real-time trends and conversations and things happening on X or Twitter
Yeah.
that other LLMs don't have access to. So it has unique value there. But outside of X or Twitter, I find that it's just like light years behind the others. So it's fairly useless.
Yeah. And Gemini is one where uh it also is like it's like right there in terms of performance, especially when it comes to things like coding. It's great in search when you see the AI search results. That's all Gemini doing its thing in the background. Um, But I get just kinda like, I'm not in the Google ecosystem of tools, but, like, if you have a Google Workspace account or whatever they call it, G Suite or I don't remember what it's called anymore, but, like, if you pay for your email and docs and storage through Google, Gemini is a fine
Mhm.
series of models. And especially we demoed Omni, their video creation model, a couple last week, I
Mhm.
think it was, or the week before. And that's really impressive as they're kind of pushing that forward. So if you're using Gemini, that's a great model. Like as these models get better, there's actually less and less difference between them. And
No.
like chat Oh, 100%. When you look at the actual demos, like if you use
Yeah.
ChatGPT 5.5 for coding, and I don't know if you disagree with this. My opinion is if you use ChatGPT 5.5 for coding and you use Opus 4.8 for coding, you're going to notice in day-to-day usage zero difference.
Right.
Um, yeah,
No, I was gonna say I think we're moving to this, like we're getting super close to this point where it's just personal preference. Like
yes,
like
yeah,
do I prefer Fios for my television or
yeah,
Xfinity? Like do I like it's just gonna come down to like what provider do I feel like an affinity or comfort for?
yeah,
Do I want Apple Music or Spotify? Are they really different? Um like some loyalists are gonna be like, yes, they're so different. Um, but I will say, like for Gemini, and you and I have talked about this on here before. Like Gemini is a really funny one to me because there are certain implementations where I'm like, are they serious? They rolled this out. Like you go into
yeah.
Gemini and like Google Slides, and you're like, can you help me like change this? And it's like, I don't know how to do that. It's like, why
Yeah.
are you here?
Man, my favorite thing about Google Slides, I stopped using it, so maybe it got better, but the way that it used to be, because I use Google Slides all the time, but Gemini and Google Slides,
Right,
the way
right.
that it used to be is you'd ask it to redesign a slide, and it would just create an image of a slide and put it there. I don't know if it
Yeah,
still does that, but that's like,
it was
who
so
wants that?
it was so like comically useless.
Yeah,
But the flip side is like, until Images 2.0, Gemini Nano Banana was my go-to image
yeah,
manipulator or design tool, like AI design, one shot tool. So like, um, I think it's still a case by case basis, and it really depends on the implementation and the use and the model that you're going after. Like you said, their Omni video model is dramatically better than some of the older ones. But yes, we are moving towards this. Like soon, it's just going to be like I'm a ChatGPT person, I'm a Gemini person, I'm whatever, and it's just
yeah,
really going to be inconsequential. All right, so a couple of other questions. Do you want to jump into what it produced here real quick
yeah,
before we
and
go
I
on with
mean,
some questions?
it's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine, I guess. It won't use the logo for some reason.
yeah,
Yeah, and I could probably get it to be like if I
yeah.
kept banging on it,
With
but
Images 2.0, you could like highlight where it is and then provide it your logo and say explicitly you could tell it to replace it. But again, I will say this is where I've seen really positive results since Images 2.0 came out. But today, I was having a really difficult time giving it specific instruction and having it
hmm,
listen and follow it. So who
interesting. Maybe
knows?
that's what's going on. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
good
know.
call.
But definitely, I think whether we call that like engaging creative or not, I think that's the best result you've gotten so far,
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
compared to some of the Canva